Today, instead of doing a tutorial, I thought that I would mix things up a little and bring you through my process of starting a new painting and showing you how I paint loosely, but in a really slow and deliberate manner. I just want you to pay attention to the way I move my brush and how I am basically dancing on the paper. I find that painting is a dance where you get to create the shapes, the colors, and the strokes that you want, and it's a pity to rush through it. So I want you to take your time and appreciate all the little strokes that I'm making, because I find that when we're painting loose florals, it's really a sum of many strokes. Taking your time to breathe in every single stroke is so essential because it also helps us to observe a lot more and rush a lot less. I am currently on Instagram as well, and I noticed that for a period of time when I was just beginning watercolor, I would rush through my paintings because I saw the effects of seeing time lapses and how it felt like I had to also rush through my paintings and paint really quickly and get all of these swift movements. When I tried doing that, I only got lots of hard lines and blooms and muddy mixtures on my paper. There was a lot more frustration and a lot less learning. I learned a lot more about the art, painting, and seeing how things evolve and changed on my paper when I started to slow down a lot more. And while this style of painting is really my own, I also know that varying the speed of your painting can definitely give you new marks and new shapes that you never thought was possible. At the moment, I am pulling out different shapes in this painting. I am just trying to figure out different floral placements, floral directions, and I've got a reference book that's in front of me, and this book is called The Flower Recipe. It's a favorite book of mine because it's got really beautiful floral arrangements, and I use floral arrangement books to help me to conceptualize putting flowers together. Something else I noticed about wanting to move quickly is we tend to get impatient with our progress. We think that we need to improve a lot quicker and move at a speed that is beyond our level. In fact, because social media constantly feeds us all of these progress from other people, what they're doing, how they're doing, and coupled with all of those time lapses, it can feel like such an illusion where we need to speed things up a lot more. And today I invite you to ground yourself and just think about the process of enjoying painting, connecting with your brush, the way you hold it, selecting the color that you want to have in your painting, being more intentional with how you are sitting with your art and breathing through all of it. I find that it's so powerful to not just be creating through our imagination and thinking about what you want to have on your paper, but also feeling the entire experience, the experience of watching, noticing, and looking at everything coming to life. While you're watching me paint and seeing that I'm slowly forming all of these floral shapes, in honesty, I have no clue or no idea of how this painting is going to pan out. I do experience bouts of frustration where sometimes I find that it's not really moving in the direction I wanted, or putting the flower next to certain spaces or using specific colors don't actually work well together. And I think this is also a time where I want to also remind myself that zooming out and seeing things on a broader perspective and not just focusing on that one small detail or that one small mark that you've made and feel terrible about it, but rather see that everything comes together on a whole and as a big picture. One of the struggles that I find around painting slowly that many people have is how we feel like by speeding through it, we don't think as much and we would be able to paint looser. And this was the mindset or the limiting belief that I had, where I felt like in order for me to paint loosely, going fast meant that I would skip all the details. But what I also noticed about doing that was I skipped past things like building muscle memory. I skipped past enjoying the process. I skipped past all of that learning and experience. And this is where I find that watercolor for me has been something that allows me to experience slowing down, experience the movement of water and paint and interaction all happening in one space. And I find that that calmness of all of these things happening and chaos, because sometimes the paint moves in ways that you don't want it to move, and that's where the chaos happens. And the quietening down of your mind, coupled with all of those beliefs and thoughts popping up, is such a powerful experience to actually feel rather than want to fast forward and move through. I find that by slowing myself down and taking my time with all the small little marks and details, building it up has also given me the chance to find techniques and styles that I love and want to continue building on them instead of speeding through them. It has also opened my eyes to observing more of what's in front of me rather than just going through it all really, really quickly. Now, of course, practicing slowness and slowing down is a practice. It takes time for you to kind of ask yourself questions as you're painting rather than coming up with an outcome. It's really easy for us to just tell ourselves, today I want to paint a daisy, and then you sit down, look for a picture of a daisy, and then you try and translate that onto your paper. And the frustration that comes in often is a result of us having a mindset where we want an outcome rather than enjoying the actual process of creating and going through all of those different small steps before we eventually get to the daisy that we want to paint. I find that it's so powerful to reflect as you're painting, asking yourself questions like, what color should go with this color? Or asking yourself, is it time to change my brush right now? Or have I been exploring my paints enough? Have I given myself time to practice and play? So many of these questions can really help you to not just further your practice, but also create more internalizing of what you want for your painting rather than externalizing. And what I mean by that is that with painting and with all of the inspiration that is around us, whether it's online or offline, we tend to compare ourselves where we are and get validation for where we are from others on the outside instead of the inside. And I think cultivating some of that internal self-talk where we learn to tune into the thoughts that pop up as we're painting, because even though you paint a piece that is beautiful at the end, through it all, there's always that experience of internal struggle where you wonder if you're doing it right. There's that self-doubt about pushing through the ugly beginning. All of those pieces that come together really means or makes for what process is. So I think whenever I reflect on the whole phase, trust the process, it makes me think about my experience of having to push through all of those thoughts and questions and difficulties that I face as I am pushing through a new painting. I want you to take a rough guess of how long it took for me to make this painting. Think about how much I had to edit to create this video, to remove so many different parts, whether I was hesitating, thinking, mixing colors, dipping my brush excessively in water while I'm obsessing over the next stroke or where I should add a layer. I have to tell you that adding layers is so tricky because it takes so much from me to think about whether or not I would botch that very painting or part in the flower, and my fear in having to move along as I'm painting is not reflected in this video. So I want you to now take a pause and think about the content that you're consuming on the internet, how some of it is so heavily edited that you don't see the parts that actually make up the painting, the parts that are actually important in a painting. And as such, I hope that this conversation has inspired you to start thinking about what feels good for you as you are painting, and consider the various influences, whether it is internal or external, that could impact the way in which you are translating what you're thinking, feeling, and doing on paper. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this painting process. I really enjoyed sharing my insights with you about slowing down, and I hope that if you've got any other conversations that you think would be useful for us to have in some of these chats, it would be so lovely to hear you tell me in the comments so that we can definitely have a dialogue about that as well. I look forward to seeing you again as I paint together with you, and perhaps the next time you could also take out your paints and paint along with me as you listen to me ramble on about yet again another area for you to reflect on your practice as you are painting your beautiful piece of art.